5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. Watch now. Okay, here we are. Z8. It went Z9 and then Z8. So yeah, here it is. And the leaked pictures are pretty much what it looks like. Action. Ready action. Ready action. Z8. It's the Z8.
Well, that was a groggy, sleep-deprived me at 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time yesterday. So what can I, a day later, add to the conversation? Since plenty of reviews were posted yesterday when the embargo expired, including excellent videos by my buddy Matt Irwin down under, Rishi, Grays of Westminster, even DP Review. So what happened there? Did they rise from the dead for the Z8? Anyway, I'll link a couple in the description. There's lots of good info out there already. But I can add my personal thoughts and possible use case. So if that sounds interesting, please do stick around. Hi, Ray here. I come to this announcement as a Z9 owner. In many ways, the Z8 ticks all the boxes of my wish list for the Z9. In my earliest videos on that announcement, I said, for instance, I preferred a camera without an integrated vertical grip. But the Z9 has become my primary camera in the year or so, 14 months since I've had it. And it'll stay so. So what about the Z8 now it's here? I'll look briefly at some of the specs and then some of your observations. As far as size goes, it's 30% smaller than the Z9, that's quite a bit. 15% smaller than the D850, with a weight of 910 grams, that's about 2 pounds. The Z9 is 1,340 grams, almost 3 pounds. And my Z6s are 585 grams, about 1.3 pounds. With the Z8, they've used this monocoque Cerobo, I think it's called, carbon fiber in the body. Same magnesium on the front. It is, and this was and is, one of the primary prerequisites for me, a pro build. It's weather sealed, same tilting screen that I've come to love with the Z9, and that's fine for me, I've been enjoying it. And you can always use a rig with auxiliary monitor if you need that. Illuminated buttons, that's great. I'm really glad to see that come over from the Z9 and other pro bodies. So we have the same 45.7 megapixel stacked sensor. At first I leaned towards a bigger one, but I'm fine with that after my experience with the Z9. We hear a lot lately about diffraction with larger sensors. Now, I'm no expert on that subject, but as I say, I'm happy with the beautiful imagery that I get with the Z9. And plenty of spare pixels to crop when I need that. What about the EN-EL15C battery that this uses? Well, I have spares already that I've bought from my Z6s. And what are they saying? The EN-EL15C battery offers approximately 340 frames per charge when primarily using the viewfinder, or 370 shots per charge when using the LCD monitor. And it's also compatible with other EN-EL15 series batteries, though your mileage is going to vary with those. You can use the MB-N12 accessory battery grip, and that'll hold two EN-EL15 batteries, and that slides into the existing battery compartment. And here's where those two USB-C ports come in. I already use PD power with the Z9 to run it from a power bank or V-mount battery, so I'm really happy to see that second USB-C port. And that's the answer to those complaining about the battery choice. It had to be the EN-EL15 given the size of the camera. Connectivity, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, no GPS. Now that's not a deal breaker for me. I like it in the Z9, but they had to make some concessions. Full-size HDMI, excellent. No more need to be said. So we have 45.7 megapixel, 14-bit RAW for stills, high efficiency RAW, and I've been using that since day one with the Z9. It's excellent to have those much smaller RAW files. 8-bit JPEG and introduction of 10-bit HEIF, which can also be used to make 8K time-lapse in camera. And I do that a lot, and I'm gonna be loving that. Frame rates of 20, 30, 60, 120, depends of course whether you need RAW or JPEG is good enough. And pre-release, of course the same electronic shutter as the Z9 with the sensor shield. That's great to see. Same 493 point phase detection autofocus system. Subject detection of various types with the introduction of dedicated airplane detection. I won't go into that anymore. Video specs again, same as the Z9. Internal 8K 60p and 4K 120p video, 12-bit NRAW, and that is half the size of, say, ProRes RAW HQ. And I should say the red lawsuit against Nikon has been for all intents and purposes resolved. Actually the day before, I think it was, the Z8 announcement. So no more worries for the foreseeable future about losing internal RAW. It also has ProRes RAW HQ in 4K 10-bit, ProRes 422 HQ internally. Audio, same as the Z9, 24-bit linear PCM right to the memory card alongside your footage, compatible with professional XLR microphones using Tascam's digital adapter CA-XLR2DAN. Okay, so you have to buy this accessory, but there's the XLR solution. So it has all the other features of the Z9 and a bit more. Nikon is calling it the true successor to the D850. And that's what so many Nikon DSLR users wanted, and it looks like this is the ticket. And I think it's a pretty big deal. Now I asked the community who would be buying the Z8. I think it's been the most voted poll and most comments of any of my community polls. So first to my poll where I said, it's the Nikon Z8, big surprise. And I asked, will you buy one? So what we have right now with 112 votes is yes, 32%, no, 54%, and my order is in, 14%. So from that we can take that 32, 42, 46% say yes, 46% of those 112 votes, and 54% no. But that's pretty impressive, and probably backs up what I experienced at my local store. And yes, this is probably the most comments that I've ever had on any of these community posts. 112 votes so far, and 19 comments. So let's take pictures. Says, people have been saying it'll be a mini Z9. It is. Now some people are disappointed. Quote, I thought it would have been more. I'm like, wow, it really is as good as the Z9. And the only real downside is battery life. What more could people want? I would wonder the same. Let's Take Picture says, I'll get one, but I'm not in a rush because I have my Z6 and D850. Fair enough. And there's a reply, yeah, I don't get that. We all knew what to expect, but people seem to be upset. Well, let's put that in perspective. It's only a few people who are upset, ones that I'll have a comment on. I'm holding out for a video-centric Nikon Z10V, says Aiton Imago. Okay, the Z8 is perfect for previously weight-challenged Z9 aspirationists. Well, that's me. So it's perfect for me. Alex V says, no surprise on YouTube. Matt, I presume he's referring to my buddy Matt Irwin, has one and tested it for quite some time now. Yes, as I said, I'll link that excellent video in the description. He says he's not quite sure about mirrorless. Well, don't be unsure about mirrorless, Alex. They're, they are the future. Nothing wrong with DSLRs if that's your preference, but these new mirrorless cameras are just superb. Jerry Murphy says, I think Nikon did a fabulous job. And not only have they made a very good replacement for the D850, it's got the speed and focusing power of their flagship Z9 at a fraction of the weight. Well, maybe not a fraction, but definitely a weight saving. And cost for this, who don't want that level of capability. Not only does it have far superior focusing of D850, it also has one of the best video making capabilities, absolutely, of anything else on the market. Absolutely true. I'm really not sure what there isn't to like. And yes, our order's in and will complement our Z9 beautifully. I have nothing further to add. That's exactly in accordance with my thoughts. Marcus Braun, hi Marcus, says, I voted no, but that doesn't necessarily mean I will not buy it. It's more a not for now. I like the smaller form factor of the Z7. Yeah, so I mean the Z7 is going to be a little bit smaller than the Z8. He says once the Z6, 7, 3 are launched in 2024, question mark, I'll decide between those and the Z8. I'm in no hurry. He's looking for improvement with the EVF experience, excuse the dump truck going by, and the one in the Z7 is quite good. But the 8.9 viewfinder is something else. And yes, that is a major attraction right there. Peter Suara says, waiting for the cinema type camera with better low light performance, to be honest, something to compete with the Sony FX3. I can't comment on that. I don't know much about the Sony FX3 except for it's kind of a different animal. We're talking hybrid cameras here. I already have a Z9 and I wouldn't like the smaller body with no integrated grip. Fair enough. Stonehenge's gruel question? I would if I could. I think perhaps autocorrect mangled that. Nikon SD card slot and battery life is for me a deal breaker. Okay, I'll comment on that. The SD card, because I don't think I commented in my main spiel there. The SD card slot for me is not a deal breaker. Like a lot of people have commented, I have tons of SD cards. I've never had any issues with SD cards, or any cards for that matter. Maybe I've been lucky. Yes, the SD card slot is not going to be as fast, but yes, it will be a bottleneck for sure if you're relying on that for backup, say, of larger files. Not going to be too good for that. For my use case, it's not going to be that big of a deal. Nikon says I had in the past awful trouble with flimsy design and bad connectivity of SD cards. Again, I have not had that issue at all. Small battery after getting used to the Z9 battery life. Yeah, it may be a challenge in some circumstances, but I think I covered that by talking about, using some external power as well. I'm going to jump on here to, well, Pajimbo Jimbo said, I know the SD card, even the fastest ones, slowed my D850 to a crawl when the buffer filled compared to having just the CF Express card in by itself. That's interesting. Alexandra Garola says no, but just because I have a Z9, fair enough. Kelly Sparks Photography, still too big and too expensive. The camera most desired is the Xpeed 7 version of the Z6 II. Okay, well, the Xpeed 7, I think, would definitely bump the price of any Z6 III. It looks like there's another year or so away. I'm guessing primarily because Nikon is still working on a 33 megapixel-ish stacked sensor, which in my honest opinion will be table stakes to compete a year from now. Okay, interesting opinion. 33 megapixel-ish stacked sensor. That would be interesting. I can't really comment on that. I did say, though, that it's hard to say what is the most desired camera. Z8 certainly ticked a lot of boxes for a lot of people. My small local store took 11 orders in the first 90 minutes. I agree, it's still not a cheap or small camera if compared to the Z6. I still have my originals and they serve me well for a lot of what I do. I've been spoiled by 8K video and look forward to having 2 matching angles. The same desire that led me to buying a second Z6. Marcus Braun says, I sort of hope the Z7 III would get the 45 megapixel stack sensor from the Z9 with the Z8 getting it. I can't imagine the Z6-7 going stacked. I think it's simply not possible price-wise. Yeah, I tend to agree with you there, Marcus. He says, on the other hand, Canon's R6 and Sony a7 IV show that autofocus and improved viewfinder experience is possible with non-stacked sensors too. So no problem if the Z6 III will be non-stacked. Well, we'll have to wait and see there. Kelly Sparks said to Marcus, good points. Again, in my honest opinion, since appears to be given the next Gen 6 is at least a year away, Nikon has to think ahead of the game and should release something that's going to be compelling a year from now. Kelly Sparks Photography answered Marcus, good points. Again, in my honest opinion, since appears to be given the next Z6 is at least a year away, Nikon has to think ahead of the game and should release something that's going to be compelling a year from now. Stacked sensors make a number of things easier. At the same time, development takes a long time. The 6 will need to fit the 24 to 33 megapixel range. The Z7, it seems, Nikon will use 7 for the 60 megapixel range or higher. Interesting thoughts. Random Tech Review says, I don't get why they haven't fixed that stupid card door design. Okay, he changed that because I asked him if he meant the card door because he'd said that it was the battery door. So yeah, Random Tech Review, I agree. If there's any one thing that I was going to point to as a bit of a disappointment with the Z8 would be the card door design. if they could have just put a lock on it. Now, a lot of people have complained about the Z9 card door being difficult to open. Yeah, it was a bit fiddly when I first came across it. First day or two that I used the Z9. I don't find a problem at all anymore. It's just kind of, as we like to say, us Brits like to say, you have to hold your mouth the right way. But yes, I would have liked to have seen a lock on the card door. But other than that, we're all good. So those are the 19 comments, I believe it is. And thank you very much, everyone, for everything that you've added here. I really appreciate it. So my order went in at 1 minute after my small local shop opened yesterday. Unfortunately, 4 people got in ahead of me in that first minute. And by the time I dropped in about an hour later to pay my deposit, another 5 had done the same. So 11 sales in the first hour. If that's any indication, I think this is going to be a big hit for Nikon. Potentially bigger than the Z9 at its price. Forget the naysayers already active on social media. And I suspect there's some serious trolling going on right now. Not really worth responding to. The usual, Nikon failed to listen to us again, I'm switching to fill in the blank brand. Let me say this, I think anyone who isn't happy with the gear they have or what's being presented should definitely get the gear that they need. But I don't want to end this on a negative note, so I'm not going to give those kind of complaints airtime here. I'm with Gary Murphy. Nikon hit it out of the park again with the Z8. I'm confident it'll be the perfect complement to our Z9s. And I can't wait for the 25th of May when they're supposed to ship. I'm hoping that that first shipment to my store is more than 4 units. I think Nikon has anticipated that this is going to be a huge hit, and it looks like supply chain problems have eased. So yeah, fingers crossed. There's a cat outside. Let me know in the comments or add to my community post. Are you sold on the Z8? Have you ordered one? Or will you? I hope this video was useful. If you thought so, please do give it the old thumbs up. It really does prompt the algorithm to share it with more viewers. And if this is your first time here, please join my audience for more of my content. We'd love to see you again. In the meantime, take care, cheers, and we'll see you later. There goes another dump truck.